Welcome to another episode of the Steal a Moment podcast with me, Michael LeBois. Today's episode is Tim Gelt, former PR director for the Denver Nuggets and current PR for the artist Raymond, among others. And Raymond is on a track with the amazing Ameezy, Will Geis, Mike Coates, and Che Rico, a track called I Can't Breathe Again. Has become kind of the anthem for everything that has happened so far this year with all of the racial injustice and stories of police brutality throughout the United States. It's great that our hometown has a track that has grown exponentially. If you guys haven't seen the music video yet or haven't listened to the song, there'll be links in the description below. I'll have a link right here for you guys as well, or right here, whichever direction it decides to go. With that being said, though, a couple of announcements on my end. My band, Gunpowder Empire, has a new single coming out on Friday, October 16th, so a week from today. That track is called Through Bloodshot Eyes. We'll have that out for you guys on every streaming platform starting this Friday. Next Friday. In this interview with Tim, we talk about a lot of different things. We discuss the struggles of the world as it stands right now. We discuss how PR has changed in sports with the development of social media. We discuss a little bit about cancel culture, which I thought was really interesting and kind of a different way to really see how someone from his position sees something like that. So it'll be curious. We also touch a little bit on the alma mater at Mullen High School here in Denver, Colorado, but that's for another episode on another day. Tim is a phenomenal man who's changed his career drastically and has really moved on to something he's really passionate about, which is music, which is hip-hop music in particular. We discussed that in quite a bit of detail, actually, and it's really interesting to see. So with that being said, Tim and I would like to steal a moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Yeah. It's good to see you, man. How have you been?
Real good. You, man? It's great to see you.
Not too bad. I've been staying busy, just getting this podcast off the ground and doing a lot of work. Actually talked to Ryan Harris of Altitude Sports Radio, former Denver Bronco, earlier this morning. So it's good to have a nice little follow up here with you as well, and enjoy some nice conversations with some people that I've found to be very interesting and have some interesting stories to tell. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, this really loose. I don't even, I'm already recording. So, we can edit whatever, and it's just a conversation. So it's all good, man.
When you post it, is it video or is it just audio?
It's going to be both.
Okay.
So I'll be doing the video component will be on YouTube, and then the audio component will be on Apple, Spotify, Google, all the podcast locations that are present. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm enjoying this as much as I can. So you said you were up in the mountains, huh? Where'd you guys go?
We went to Breckenridge. We left on Friday and we got back to earlier this afternoon.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, we were up, actually, my girlfriend and I were up in Beaver Creek this weekend. So
yeah,
we were close. We should have found a way to get together. Dang it.
How was it?
It was wonderful. Met some of her other couple friends, and one of her good friends is actually expecting, just found out she's about 12 weeks pregnant. So excited for her on that front. And, another wonderful person joining this awesome family that we're kind of creating here with all of our friends and fellow, I guess, millennials, if we are technically that. I don't know. We're that weird in between age. One of the couple questions I wanted to talk to you about is I know that you're heavy into the hip hop and R&B scene with some of the public relations stuff you did. And right now you have a track with people that you're connected to that is blowing up all over Denver, at least. I don't know if it's reached national status yet. I was just reading the article from The Know and the Denver Post, the I Can't Breathe Again track by Amazy. Tell me a little bit about the brainchild that was and what your involvement was in that.
Man, I'll tell you what, it's probably one of the greatest things I've been a part of in my career, and I've been fortunate to do a lot of different stuff. But so basically, all of this social unrest, really came to a head with the murder of George Floyd, at the end of May. And so there's a guy by the name of Armando Trevino who is into hip hop, and but he owns a barber shop in Westminster, and they do a lot of hip hop sort of stuff. So he, was trying to figure out how he could do something to try and express how he was feeling at all of the things that were going on. And so ultimately he decided that he really wanted to kind of enlist some hip hop artists and really, produce a song that spoke to all of these things. And so he reached out to me, and I manage an artist by the name of Ramond, who's on the track.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked us if we would be interested in being a part of it, and we jumped at the chance. And then he had also enlisted Amazy and Shiriko, and Will Geis is the singer on the track on the hook, which I think kind of really brings it all together.
Yeah, that really the vocal style there and the sound kind of just it hits home, and it's beautiful.
Thank you very much. And then Mike Coates, who is a Denver, a longtime Denver producer, produced the beat, and so it was kind of one of these projects that pretty much everybody that's involved seems like they were supposed to be involved. It feels very natural. It just came together pretty easily. And then, as you probably read in the article, none of these guys really knew what they wanted to say when they got to the studio. I remember talking to Ramond probably about 20 minutes before he got to the studio, and I said, well, do you have any idea of what your verse is going to be like, and what you're gonna say, and how you're feeling about everything? And he was just like, I have no idea what I'm gonna say. It was super painful. It was super fresh, and I think no one really knew what they wanted to say, and they had so many different emotions and feelings that were going on, and so they all got to the studio, and really that's what came out of it. And we just could not be, I think we've all kind of had the attitude that, this song is bigger than any of us, and it's about change, and it's about, this movement, and it's about equality for everyone. And, it's really about getting the message heard loud and clear. And, so it's just been, like you said, Denver has really gotten behind this song. It's on, KS 107.5 every couple hours, and they've been, they were the first one that was on board. They heard the song and said, we have to play this now. I think Victor Starr emailed me and said, hey, we're playing this in about a half hour, because he just felt that compelled by it. And then, like you said, the Denver Post premiered the video the other day. The video in 4 days has something like 34,000 views or something in just a few days.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now from the Barbershop Uncut. Yeah, it's pushing 32,000 at the time of this recording, and just I've watched it twice just today, just to kind of get a feel for what the video is about and how it flows. And I'll tell you what, the brother E, the dancer in it, adds such a great element. And I think Will has the best quote of it. They looked at each other, and Will said, "Is this the hood civil rights version of We Are the World? We can't mess this up." And they didn't. I think they hit it out of the park. Mike's beat is ridiculous. I love that simple hip hop beat that kind of just puts the whole vibe together. And each verse has a very powerful message in it. And I think also, coming from a musician's standpoint, the composition is structured so well that you don't lose interest anywhere in the song. And my favorite part personally is Geis's little the spoken word part at the end.
Yeah.
If you're white, you're black right now. If you're red, you're that part kind of just it catches you right here and lets you know that, like, we're all in this together, and we have to be in this together, or we're not going to see anything change.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I was curious, with your musical background, kind of what you thought of the track, and so I appreciate that. I think you're right. The beat, and that's the thing that's so amazing. I think when we all heard it for the first time, it was kind of like, man, everyone like absolutely killed what they do best. Mike Coates produced an incredible song. Will, sings his soul out. The three rappers, Ameezy, Ramond, and Shiriko, all just, like you said, all have just incredible verses. And then you just put it all together. And this is what we got. And just to go back to what you were saying earlier, I think our goal is, we've definitely got Denver and Colorado covered. And so now, but thanks to all the people that have viewed this, and have read the article, listened to the song, play the song, like you said, we're all in it together. So, this is kind of like everyone's song. This is a song that, has so much power behind it. And we're just overwhelmed with the support of it all. And it actually just this morning was started playing in rotation on Eminem's Shade 45 radio on Sirius XM. So,
that's awesome. That's so great.
We are trying to get that national momentum, and thanks to Paul Rosenberg and Shade 45 and everyone that is involved in getting it played on that platform, that's certainly going to propel it even more.
And that's the thing, is like it just has to go into the hands of that one person. And I think if it can go from there, that's a nationally syndicated network with Sirius, and you have every opportunity to have that in that rotation. Now that it's in that rotation, more people will hear it, and hopefully it'll continue to grow and become what you guys are hoping it can be. And I think that's the most important part of all of this is we have to work together, like I said before. And for my side of this, it'll definitely be in the description below during the the YouTube podcast. It'll be attached to all the social medias. I'll be putting it out as soon as I release this episode, and even before, I'll be blasting this everywhere I can. You're welcome. And it's one of those things that, like, I've always believed that music is the one gateway where no matter what we are, black, white, Asian, African, Canadian, anything, we blend together through music. Music is a voice of its own. And to have a track like this where it hits the soul from start to finish, and you can focus on the message that's being presented, is the more important part. What's interesting to me, though, is when we met, I would have never guessed that you were into R&B and hip hop in any way, shape, or form. But you mentioned that it kind of just happened, your entrance into music, right? You had an opportunity and you took it.
Yeah, I think, my background is predominantly in sports PR. I was with the Nuggets for 18 years. I helped the Broncos PR department out, during the season. And so, that's my that's my background, but I've always been a huge hip hop fan, as long as I can remember. I'm heavily influenced by Tupac, especially. And and then I was very fortunate enough when I was still with the Nuggets to befriend Janae Aiko, who's really just exploded over the last year, really, I think, with her latest album. But and so just kind of being around her and her producers and her team and things like that over the time that I was, I just, I did sports for so long, I wanted to see if I could have a similar impact in my other passion, which is hip hop music. And so about a year and a half ago, I was connected with Ramond, and we hit it off instantaneously, and really just, even down to having the same birthday. It was very, it was just kind of, this is the right person to kind of work with. And so we've been, over the last year and a half, we've done a lot of stuff, that we're proud of, and it just keeps getting more and more important. And the thing that we've done is just, Ramon makes, important songs, and, everything we've done, every project that we've done since I've been with him, it has been for the right reasons, for the right people, just doing what we think is right. And, we've had a lot of fun, and we've done a lot of cool things. And I think, when I started this path, I didn't realize, but ultimately Denver hip hop is now like kind of my passion, like really, really getting Denver hip hop on the map. And that's kind of all happening organically right now. But there is so much talent in this city and it really just doesn't get noticed, but it's really, I think it's bubbling up to the point where it's pretty soon. I think something big is going to happen. And this song may be that thing, but it's really become a passion. And I really, I think through my PR background and my connections through sports, I've been able to meet other people on the music and entertainment side, and they've really bought into some of the things that Ramond and I have done. And, as you saw, the Denver Post, John Wenzel, who is an incredible reporter for the Denver Post, this is the second story he's written on Ramond in the last 10 months. He wrote one back in September about a soundtrack that we did for Black Sands Entertainment, which was a animated DVD that a man named Manuel Godoy out of Brooklyn, New York, he runs Black Sands Entertainment, and it's an animated comic book series DVD. And so Ramond executive produced the soundtrack at the end of last year. And so John wrote a great piece on that in the Denver Post, and then has followed up with this one.
It just sounds like you got your, irons in a lot of different places with Ramond, especially. It sounds like he's trying to make that push to put Denver hip hop on the map. I've been fortunate enough in my 2 decades of playing music in Denver to have actually shared stages with different hip hop artists. Even though I'm a metal musician, sometimes people got the idea that we needed to blend genres for shows, which can be fun. I admit that wholeheartedly. And I've been fortunate enough to be connected, not so much anymore, but Mike Charles, who was part of Urban Method for a long time. I was able to connect with him for a while. And that guy I thought was like the next thing that was going to come out of Denver and kind of blow up. And he did for a little while. I saw a little blip. It was a little while ago, but what do you see as the future for Denver hip hop, and how is that going to maybe continue to help the budding music scene in Denver grow?
Well, I think you know this. I mean, right? Denver's known mainly for rock. I mean, we've had a lot of great, rock slash, singer songwriter pop, kind of pop rock, bands that have really hit it big. And that's kind of what I think the Denver music scene is known for, at least nationally. But I think what it's going to take is just, it's just going to be someone really, making a name for themselves on a national stage. And there have been some, Trev Rich. I don't know if you've heard of him, but Trev Rich was nominated for a Grammy. He's probably, right at the top of that list. But I mean, there is a number of, artists in Denver that are just, in my opinion, are super talented and just need that, we just need people to hear it. And that's kind of has been the motivation behind this song. Obviously the message is ultimately what we want people to hear, but this is, we consider this, an anthem for the movement. This is a really important song. And, I'm sure there are a lot of artists that are making songs about all the stuff that's going on right now because it's such an important time in history. But, the feedback we've gotten is that, this song, from what people have heard, this song is right at the top of that list. And so as far as we just, we need people to hear it. And like you said, on a platform like Shape 45, that's where some of this stuff, it's a spider web, right? It starts to just spread. And then, the more people that hear it, then, that it spreads even more. So, that's what Denver hip hop ultimately needs is some artist or some song to really just, hit on a national level.
Well, and I think the music video itself kind of showcases how much Denver really fell behind this movement and is really pushed to help progress forward the voices of the people that are speaking out. And I think that's one thing we as a city have done very well, is to sort of bolster those voices as best as possible. And the video, to me, shows the beautiful parts of everything we've been going through, as well as some of the difficult things we've seen in this time frame since the death of George Floyd and the beginning of this protest period for us. And what I think as well, this video is so well shot, so well put together, eye-catching and strong, that it has that virality that you're looking for, that I think will eventually turn the tide and get this everywhere it needs to go. So for the people listening to this, go ahead and click in the description. Make sure you check out the video. It's absolutely incredible, the work that these gentlemen have put into it, including you, Tim, because you had to help in some capacity to put this together by getting Ramond on this track, working along with Armando and Mike, Will, and Che, and Amazy to make this whole thing work so well. It just is one of those things that, like you said, every piece kind of just fell into place. And sometimes it's better to go in to the creative process not having a preconceived idea of what you want to do. Speaking from a musical perspective, I went into the studio a couple weeks ago and recorded 2 brand new songs. We rewrote the lyrics for one of those songs 2 days before studio because it just didn't feel right. And I bet your artists can attest to this, that sometimes if it just doesn't feel right, you have to start from a blank slate.
Correct. And thanks for, your comments on the video. I just wanted to say it was shot by Dreamers Day Productions here in Denver, and they did it. I agree. I mean, it is, I think everyone wanted the video to match the emotion of the song. And I think they absolutely nailed that. It's like you said, it's beautiful. I think the thing that for me that stands out is the colors, the murals, just all the different the colors and the way it's shot. I agree. They absolutely they did the song justice, and I think it's worth the watch if you haven't seen it.
Definitely, I will agree with that. Not to pull the brakes back, but I want to get into some of your public relations side of things as well, on the sports side. So you were with the Nuggets for how many years again? I'm sorry.
18.
So you're with the Nuggets for 18 years, and you've worked alongside the Denver Broncos, of course, over the last year. Are you going to be back with them again this year?
I hope so. I'm not quite sure. I think we're all still kind of waiting to see how everything looks. But that's the plan. I love being a part of their group. Patrick Smythe is one of my very, very good friends, and he Eric Schubert and Seth Medvin just run a top-notch staff with the Broncos. They're absolutely incredible, and to even be a part of that group is a joy for me. I consider those guys really good friends, and they do a heck of a job. So hopefully it works out. But if not, I'll be back next season.
Definitely. And I mean, this year is a tough year in general for sports with the pandemic going on and everything that we've kind of faced in terms of sports. How much has sports changed in the 20 years or so that you've been involved in, say, the NBA and the NFL? And what, from the public relations side, would you say has been the most difficult part of that transition?
Well, that's a great question. When I started, I was an intern in the year 2000. This was pre-Facebook. This was pre-Twitter. This was pre-Instagram. The internet was not quite what we know it as today. It was still growing and getting improving, every year. Denver, we had two newspapers. We had the Rocky Mountain News. We had the Denver Post. So for a PR perspective for me, when I first started, we had competing beats. You had the beat from the Rocky Mountain News and the beat reporter from the Post, who were constantly trying to outdo each other. So, that was a very competitive environment. And then, so I saw that change in my time, with the Nuggets. I saw, the growth of social media and having to, your players being accessible 24 hours a day, to anyone, media, fans. You had to be aware of what your players were posting, and so I think evolving and growing through that with the players as they were learning how this stuff works. I was doing the exact same, and we were all doing it at the same time. So that was a huge part of, kind of my earlier career was, learning what this stuff does, but then also learning that you can use it to your advantage. Then all of a sudden, we had a social media team, that was working with the organization. And then all of a sudden, that became a huge part of, the day-to-day operations, was, working in conjunction with them on, signings or trades, or, it was just another way to deliver information to the fans. So all of that, pretty much was brand new during my time there. So trying to really, navigate all of that as it was happening was a big thing. So those were the big ones, of course. And then really the growth of the NBA. I mean, the NBA just, globally during my time in the NBA, I mean, it just exploded on a global, worldwide level. And so the popularity of your team and your players, not only in Denver, but also in the United States and all around the world, it just exploded over that time.
Yeah, and the things that we've noticed, even comparatively in terms of like even musicians are looking at how to monitor what you put out to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a bad position, or in turn putting out something that creates that virality that you're looking for to make it bigger. Have you contributed some of the aspects that you learned in the sports industry to the music side as well, to sort of help create a brand?
Yeah, I think with Ramond especially, we've been real, it's funny, I don't know any other way. My career was in the NBA. So, the same way I did things in the NBA is how I've done them with Ramond. And we've had some good success, with, like I said, the Denver Post and just relationships that we've built, and really, a lot of that stuff is the same. The NBA is sports and music are different, but they're really pretty similar too. And so a lot of the same tactics and things that I did in the NBA have worked. And really it comes down to relationships. The relationships that I had in sports, either those people have known someone in music, or it's really been pretty seamless to kind of switch over. And it's been fun because everyone knows the NBA, and everyone knows who the Denver Nuggets are, but Ramond, no one knew. And so building his brand piece by piece with him, to a point, like I said, with some of the stuff that we're doing now, we've gone from unknown to, people are starting to know who he is, through his music. So it's been a really fun transition.
I can imagine. I would believe that the shift from doing something you've known for 2 decades to something you've learned a lot about in that time frame kind of helps develop something amazing that you can continue to grow, and hopefully will add more talent to your roster as the time goes along. The one thing I've learned through my time working in media with Altitude and my time at post graduating media school is I've been noticing a lot more of this transition of trying to make sure you're saying the right thing as opposed to saying anything. Especially in this day and age with the trouble of coming across things that are 10, 12 years old that are leading to these transitions of cancel culture, I guess, is where I'm taking this. Do you feel that maybe a piece of PR now is going back in your history and cleaning out things that could potentially be problems?
Yeah, as we've seen, I can't remember there's been a few players the last year or two. I think they were baseball players, or one of them was.
I think it was Josh Hader of the Brewers was one.
He was like in the middle of just an incredible outing or something, and before he even got off the mound, someone had dug up some tweet or something from years and years ago, and
when he was like 18,
something like that. And before he got to the locker room, this thing had gone viral. And so, unfortunately people say, or tweet dumb things or post, stupid stuff. But, if you are trying to build a brand or build a a career in the spotlight, especially, you have to know that people are going to be looking for that stuff. I don't know who those people are, and I don't really want to know who they are, but because who really has time to devote to trying to find dirt on somebody just to kind of ruin their day or ruin their reputation. But unfortunately, it is part of the social media age. And if you're going to be in the spotlight, or you're going to, you're trying to, become a famous, artist, or, a young up and coming athlete, you have to know that people are going to be looking at your accounts. And so if, God forbid, you do have something that could be considered, negative, or, something that could harm you, you have to get it off there. It's because as quickly as you can be, become famous, or things can go your way, it can quickly be taken away. And you don't want anything like that to be the reason. Don't let something that you tweeted when you were 15 ruin your future.
Definitely. And I think that's one of the things that we as a generation now, I'm like in my 30s looking back at the stuff that I'm really happy I have Facebook memories, because it reminds me of all the really stupid things I said back then, and I can get rid of them in a timely fashion. But I think that's one of the things is that, the generations after ours, the 19, the 15, 16, 17-year-olds, the now, guys like Jerry Judy, for instance, are looking at this as an opportunity to, they've been in the digital age their entire functional lives. And so they put themselves in a position where they kind of have to go back and look at those things. Do you guys, as a PR department in some capacities, help them go back after they've been drafted or selected? Do you kind of help them go back and maybe look at those things and see if they have any of that? I know that seems like a lot of work, but is that something you guys do as a team?
Well, that's something, I was always looking at stuff like that when I was with the Nuggets, especially. And it is a lot of work, but it's also super important. And, it's worth the time. And I never really found anything, really that crazy over my time. And kind of like what you were just saying, the players like that are coming into the NBA, the NFL, and pro sports now. And I noticed this at the end of my time with the Nuggets, was these kids might be 18 or 19 when they're coming into the league, but as far as social media is concerned, they're veterans, whereas, like I was saying earlier, the Carmelos and the Kenyon Martins and all those guys that I was with, they were learning how this stuff worked as it was coming out. The kids that are coming up and coming into the NBA now are pretty savvy with social media for the most part. So, they kind of had that down, the branding and kind of understanding how important it is and how it can really help you. You mentioned Jerry Judy, and I think he posted something the other day when he signed his contract, and it was just like, this is how you do it.
Yeah, that video was mind-blowing. The video was so good.
Right. And that's like, right, that's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought him up. That's a perfect example of these guys understanding the value of their own social media and how they can kind of control their own messaging. And that was A+. Jerry Judy, that was, if you haven't watched that, go look at his accounts, because that was as good as I've seen.
And he markets himself really well and very intelligently. That's one thing I definitely noticed even before he was drafted as a Bronco. I unfortunately have a very good friend who's a huge Alabama fan. We give him a hard time for it all the time. But he mentioned that that's one of the things he does really, really well is he markets himself really well. One of the other things I noticed since I've known you these last couple of years, for those of you who don't know, Tim and I are alma mater buddies as well. We both went to the same high school here in Denver, go Mustangs. Is that you are very happy to see the growth and change of people that you've mentored over the years. I always notice that you post when guys pick up jobs with other teams and move forward. How important are those relationships to you as you've progressed through this career? And what advice do you have for people coming into the PR game in any level, whether it be sports or music or other?
Well, it's very important to me, and it's something I've done. I've always taken very seriously. When I've had interns, the goal was to either hire them myself or help them get jobs with other teams. And so I've been very fortunate to have some great people that have worked for me. And I've been able to help. Hopefully, I've been able to help them either get hired under me or with other teams. And it's something I take very seriously, and it's something I've still done. Even after leaving the Nuggets, I still have been able to help young PR people that wanted to get into sports to still get hired with other teams or get internships with other teams. And that's something that that I've always loved doing, and I'll keep doing. And so thanks for noticing that. But, you need, you've seen how hard it is to, get some of these jobs, and pro sports is super competitive, and it's really, really hard. And so if I can help, if I've been able to help some of these kids, that's awesome, because I certainly got help along the way when I was, younger and trying to get into the league and all those things. So that's what I've tried to do, is the same help that I got when I was younger is to pay it forward and do the same for the younger kind of next generation of sports PR, or PR in general.
I would say one of the most important things is always maintaining those connections and doing the best you can to hold those connections and work them to help both people out. I know from personal experience within music, I can't always do the things that I need to do, but I know I have a network of reliable people that I can go to, that I trust and put my name behind. And I think that's the same thing for you with the people that you help get to the next level, because you're putting your name on that person. And that's a big level of trust in any field. If you're willing to put your name behind that person and say, I trust them to do what you're asking them to do, I vouch for them. And I think that that's one of those things that I don't think everybody really understands anymore, is that we as a unit need to work together and find ways to build those relationships further. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's how you get anywhere. Like when people, if you vouch for somebody, it means that, especially in this, in the regard you're talking about, colleagues of mine are coming to me saying, hey, we're thinking about hiring this person, tell me about him, or help, what can you tell me about him? And I think I've always tried to teach when these kids were with me, or when I'm on the phone with them, or whatever it is, I'm trying to teach them, the ins and outs of what we do as a PR director, in that role. And so, my interns were always very, very hands-on. So, it wasn't like they were cleaning storage closets. They were helping me get players to interviews. They were helping me, do this and that. I mean, they were doing the job. And so I always felt like that was very important, because I definitely saw, different teams, along the way that, maybe their interns didn't have as much experience as others, because they weren't, they were just kind of doing intern-like duties, which is fine, but that you really get to see kids grow when they get the responsibilities of doing things that if they weren't doing, then I'd be doing them. And so, so they were doing, important things that needed to be done, during the course of a season. And so then when I go to, different teams or different colleagues that are hiring, I can say, well, this person did this, and this year, they were, super important to what we did. And, I'd like to think they all got a good experience with me when they were with us. And then, like you said, most of them have gone on and have full-time jobs in the NBA, particularly with other teams.
That's amazing to hear, because you don't often hear, about that side of things. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on. Is I don't think people really understand how valuable public relations is, especially on the sports side. In the current climate right now, with the changes in the progression of culture and the hopes that we can find some balance here, leagues are doing a lot to attempt to promote a positive mindset, Black Lives Matter movement, the functionality of police reform. How do you think, in your personal opinion, and we can edit this out if we need to, how do you think the leagues are handling this? And do you think that in turn, this will be more of a positive than a negative? I mean, I've seen both sides, unfortunately, through the forms of social media, where people are like, cancel sports, we don't need them anymore. These people don't understand the culture of the world. And then there are other people who are like, I can't wait for sports to come back. It seems like they finally understand, or are at least trying.
Yeah, I think, this is, every league is handling it differently. I mean, I think my background is in the NBA, so I can speak on that the most. And I think Adam Silver, does an incredible job. I mean, even, I told someone not too long ago that, someone asked me how I thought this, the restart in Orlando was going to be. And I said, well, I'm sure there's going to be some growing pains and things that maybe they're not quite expecting, or this and that. But I said, at the end of the day, I know that Adam Silver has all the information he needs, and they're making as informed decisions as they possibly can. And, and I think, as far as some of the other stuff, the social justice and stuff like that, I think it really comes down to listening to your players. And when you listen to your players, that's when you really learn. And I think we've seen that with the NFL. I think they listen to a lot of hearing their players. And it took some time for them to finally kind of come on board with some of this stuff and understand what these players were talking about. And maybe better late than never, because but ultimately it comes down to listening to what your players have to say, and really trusting your players, and really these, this better than anyone. The leagues are their players. Without their players, there's nothing.
Exactly.
The players are what makes these leagues go, and you need to listen to what these guys have to say. And I think Adam Silver is the best at that. I think the NBA absolutely listens to what their players have to say, how they feel, what they want to change, and they value the opinions of their players. And I think the NFL is probably doing that better than they have been, of late.
Oh, I actually think, in my opinion, Adam Silver is the best commissioner of all the major four right now. He's done the most to improve the league as a whole. He's continued what David Stern did in terms of marketing the league internationally. He's focused on all of the right things, and himself and then Gary Bettman, which makes my mouth kind of taste gross saying this, did it right in their restarts. And I think that that's one of the things that other leagues could look at. I know that baseball's having some issues right now, which is the one sport I thought could make it work with all of this. So that was actually going to be my next question. How do you feel that the NBA looks now in terms of the restart? They've had 0 cases in the last 3 months, it looks like. Or no, 4 weeks since late June when they started to get the bubbles in place. Do you think that we will crown an NBA champion this year?
I personally think yes. Like I said, I think, there may be things that come up that they have to kind of adjust on the fly, but ultimately it seems like they have a good plan in place. Like I said, I think they're very well prepared. They make very informed decisions. They do their homework. So I in that regard, I think it's going to go, I think I've said it's going to be different than anything we've ever seen. It's certainly going to be an adjustment. It's going to be an adjustment for the teams and the players and all those things. But it's going to be, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really cool, and they're going to definitely, it'll be a different champion than we've ever seen. But I think Michael Malone, I think I've seen LeBron or some other people say, this isn't going to be an asterisk. This is going to be the hardest championship ever won in NBA history, and I actually agree with that. I think that's whoever comes out of this winning a championship. I mean, everything that has gone into the 2019-2020 season, they will have earned it. So, whoever comes out of it, I think they really have their work cut out, and it'll be, it'll be an asterisk only that it'll be, a historical time in history, a historical moment.
I'm hoping that the Pepsi Center has a Larry O'Brien trophy right next to Lord Stanley's Cup. I'm really excited for both of those franchises right now to have an opportunity. And you know what? You're exactly right. This is a moment in history that will be marked with an asterisk as a difficult championship to win, because you played a 70-game season. You left, or 60-game season. You left 12 games out on the floor there. You then come back to the idea that you now have to restart at a point where you're ready to shut down. And you're essentially telling these guys, we have just the playoffs left. You have to get into that playoffs mentality right away. You don't have
no fans in the stands, no home court advantage, no, limited, if that, family and friends around you. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to watch, and it's going to be, I was thinking about it the other day, for all the people that are going to Orlando or that are in the bubble, this is history. This is absolute history. If I was still with the Nuggets, thinking about, I would be in the bubble. And, that's an interesting thought, I mean, but that, I hope that they realize, this is kind of what you said. Some people want sports back, and they can't wait for sports to be back. And I'm certainly one of them, just watching the Rockies over the weekend, was like the greatest thing of all time.
Yeah.
You know, like this is like heaven right now, you know, and it was weird. And, you know, the cardboard cutouts in the band, you know, and the piped in crowd noise and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird and it's different, but at the same time, it's awesome. You know, it's different. It's creative. It's, I absolutely loved watching the Rockies over the weekend, because it was like, I mean, what did I do for 4.5 months being a sports-minded person like I am? I'm sure you were the same way. Like, what did we actually do for the last 4.5 months?
Yeah, I watched a lot of cornhole on ESPN. I'm luckily enough a video game nerd, so I had the digital versions of sports to kind of keep me balanced, and also I just got more creative. I started a podcast.
Right.
We are wrapping up the tail end of the time. Thank you again, Tim, for everything, man. I really appreciate having you on and you joining me tonight. I'm glad that we were able to get it in today. Give us some links or ways to either get a hold of you or some of your artists, and what's the best way to consume your media.
Yeah, thank you. So Facebook, I'm Tim Gelt. Twitter, I'm @Tim_Gelt. Instagram, taglife21. And then, like you said, please watch our video or listen to our song, I Can't Breathe Again. You can find it on all music platforms. You can hear it on KS 107.5 in Denver. You can hear it on Shade 45 radio on Sirius XM. You can read about it in the Denver Post. You can go to YouTube and just search I Can't Breathe Again. Ramond, Amizi, Shiriko, and Will Geis. So we appreciate all the support. I appreciate you having me on. You know, like you said earlier, we're Mustangs for life. So whatever you need, you know, I mean, you know, we didn't really touch on that much, but Mullen is a huge part of my life, and I've met some incredible friends and people from Mullen that kind of speak the same language, and you're certainly one of them. So, you know, we are Mullen.
We are Mullen, and I will actually, I'm working on this, and this is a thing right now. I'm working on getting some of the Mullen guys from when I was there that went on to play D1, went on to do things in college and are doing bigger things now post-career, and trying to get them on here to kind of talk about those days. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be there during the Logan era at the tail end of my time there. And, of course, Mullen's a big part of who I am as a character and as an individual. And I'll definitely have you back on. We can reminisce about the Mustang time period.
We'll have a Mullen episode. Yeah, Mullen episode.
We'll have to get Sean on here as well and have him rattle off some of his great Mullen stories as well.
Yeah, he's got a ton of them.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Tim. We appreciate it. As I mentioned, always, all of our links will be down below, including the music video for I Can't Breathe Again. All of the Spotify, Apple links will be down there, as well as any ways to get a hold of Tim and Ramond and the rest of the guys as part of that project. Thanks for letting me steal a moment with you, Tim. As always, man, we'll take care, and I'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, man. Take care.
Bye.
It almost feels like someone else is living my life. 'Cause it almost